Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you're having a good morning. Uh, I just got done with our walk. Had a nice walk, a pretty day out. She's not been able to do many walks because of the hunting going on, so she enjoyed it as well. Hope you're having a good day. I'm got a little coffee in me. Gotta get the morning malaise chased away with some routines that get my brain stem going. Hope you have a similar pattern. Mm. If you have some coffee, some nice water. I have some friends that love to have some nice cold water. Helps them get going in the morning. Whatever it takes, here's to you. Mm. Ah, the video I did before this one was my intro to Joey Rudolph, one of my heroes. So in that one, talked at length about how I found Joey and we got to become uh, friends. And I wanted to continue that process because I just did the intro. The very first week I had spent with Joey and meeting him at the Muscular Dystrophy camp. During that time, I was 16 years old and I was in high school. High school was a tough time for me. I was I battled some weight issues. I was kind of overweight, but I wasn't really healthy. I was just overweight. I was pretty big size wise, at least when I started in freshman year. So I started okay, but as time went on, it it was kind of tough. I don't want to paint it as I had a difficult high school. I went to a high school that was all male Christian Brothers High School, and the kids there were pretty good. The especially the people that were on the athletic team are actually pretty kind. They're pretty nice people. There were a little bit of the camaraderie that comes from being on a team where there's little us against them, but not too much, not really, not too bad. Overall, that everybody was pretty nice. So the main thing I had problems with is uh, that awkward age of girlfriends and being overweight and getting my weight down, and the him and haw that happens in their teenage years, what to do, what to be. And Joey was really a little bit of a rock for me. He um, he did a lot of stabilizing me in the currents of my life. So, like I mentioned before, Joey really only could use his hands. He uh, he had fairly strong hands. Uh, you know, he moved his hands or his arms around by moving his hands, uh, almost like like a spider-like movements of his fingers, and he could move his hands. But he was still very restricted in his arms, and he couldn't move them real well. So he had since he had his hands, luckily games were coming out back in those days. So we had things like Ataris and Nintendos. I'm pretty sure Nintendo was out back then. I know there was Ataris, and I think there was another one. Um, so he was able to, there was a little bit of the entertainment value in that. It wasn't all about television because the television was crap. Oh man. So let me back up and tell you, now that we've introduced Joey, let me tell you a little bit more about his life. He was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and his parents left him in a nursing home in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm sorry, in Nashville. He got moved to Memphis because there's a St. Jude's Research Hospital there in Memphis. Children with muscular dystrophy would, of course, be covered under, well, I shouldn't say of course, but muscular dystrophy is very targeted toward the young because a lot of people don't live to a big age with muscular dystrophy. The I'm sorry, my dog is having a blast tearing up my wife's plants. I have to tell her about that. So anyway, there are some muscular dystrophies that strike older people, and I met some older ones. Lou Gehrig had a muscular dystrophy, which struck him, of course, later in his life. Um, so Joey moved from Nashville to Memphis, and from there they did things to help him as much as possible. He had like I mentioned, he had a lot of pain in his joints. Couldn't move real. If he moved very much, it caused a lot of pain issues, which created a lot of problems for his wheelchair because they would have to put a lot of pillows in his wheelchair. And when I met him, they had just added a form-fitting uh, cushion and bottom and back cushion that would push him up a little bit, helped him hold him a little erect, and kept his legs from jostling around very much when you were moving the wheelchair around. So it was a huge benefit to him. He was, with that addition, he was able to go out and not have as much pain when he went on activities, to the point where he enjoyed going out. I had a little trouble taking him out because I had a car that was really small, very small. So, one of the things that we did was we traded in my car for a van. Uh, and the van, we had installed clamps to allow us to clamp him into his chair so that he could ride in my van in his chair. So the difficulties he would have of sitting in my seat in my smaller car, which was fairly painful for him, kind of went away because that new form-fitting chair really held him up a lot better than anything I could do with a seat. And it was an with there wasn't a lot of fancy things back then. So we would um, roll him up into the van. Um, we didn't have a lift or anything like that. There were lifts back in those days, but they were very expensive. So we'd get him up in the van, and then um, we would clamp the two main bottom metal uh, uh, shoot. I'm drawing a little blank, but down at the bottom there was two main bars that you would use not only for kicking up the wheelchair, but it would actually stretch all the way to the front. And they were ubiquitous. Every wheelchair had them back in those days. So we put this metal clamp and we would twist it down and hold it down tightly. It was actually the carpet and padding down below, and it would sink in the chair and hold it really stably. And then we took the van out and took him taking places. He was uh, uh, he enjoyed going out quite a bit, and during his exploits with muscular dystrophy, he fell in love with a girl named Mary Milligan. It was his. I don't know if it was his first true love, but it was by far his biggest crush. Uh, he We went to movies. I took him to concerts. We were able to do lots of things. So Joey didn't have much, but he didn't let that slow him down. I didn't have to work hard to convince him to do things. I offer, and he will almost always accept. I'm stretching my memory banks to think about if there was a time when I had to really push him a little bit in order to go somewhere or do something. And you go, but Glenn, of course he wants to, he's at a nursing home. He wants to get out and see the world. Yeah, but he also had a lot of pain in his life created by his circumstances. And there's a little bit of unknowns in there as well. So it's a it was a good thing seeing him push past those little issues in life and moving it toward something that was that he enjoyed. And he enjoyed a lot of those things. He was appreciative and happy. I wasn't perfect either. My parents were great because they helped me with many things. I was able to afford the new van, but my parents paid for the modifications for the wheelchair. Um, and I wasn't perfect about visiting him either. There were times when um, school or college drained me and I was a little inconsistent. And I think twice Joey called me out a little bit, not in a mean way. He never had to be mean, but I remember coming home one day and my dad, who was he always a tough guy. He was 101st Airborne Division, you know, He, I don't want you to think he was like "Argh," at me all the time, but he always wanted. He was showing his softer side was more of a rarity. He wasn't. He didn't like to show his softer side. He had some. He was a real softy. He'd probably be annoyed me even saying that. But I remember coming home and he had talked to Joey, and it really was hard for him to even tell me he had talked to Joey because he was thinking about it and it was making him tear up just thinking about talking to Joey. And Joey was a quiet guy because he didn't, he was weak and he didn't have like a long, big voice. He was a quiet guy. And my dad answered the phone. Back in those days, we had no caller ID. And he's like, "Hello." And Joey would like very meekly, I want to say it louder, but very meekly would say, "Hello, is Glenn there? Speak up." And Joey would be like, "Is Glenn there? You gotta have to talk louder than that. What do you want? What do you want?" And finally, he was able to hear the voice of Joey. "Yeah, this is Joey. I was looking for Glenn." And he had been gruff. He had that forceful tone with Joey, and now he realized what was going on. And it hurt him that he had been so gruff with Joey. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Joey. I didn't know it was you. I'll let Glenn know that you were here." "Oh, thank you, Mr. Graham." "No problem." And when he conveyed to me what that conversation, yeah, he cried. He cried. Joy made my life very special. He gave me so much because he had taken the little he had gotten and he had squeezed as much as he possibly could out of it. Joey's mom eventually found him down in Memphis, and his sister, when she found him, she didn't know he would. She didn't wasn't sure if he would forgive her for abandoning him. He did, of course, he did. She moved to Memphis, got an apartment there, and got a hold of Joey. And the last 2 years of his life, he lived with her. I didn't visit him anymore, but I did take him for stuff, take him out to places. We did things together. But um, and there's a reason for that, and that's going to be talking about one of my other heroes. So he finally passed away, and he was very happy. I don't know about the last moments of his life. Oftentimes, death is a painful thing. But I know that if there was a possibility not to have it be painful, Joey would have embraced it. He would have been appreciative of everything he had. He would have been appreciative that he was there with his mother and his sister at the end. He gave me a lot. And there's tons of other stories I could tell you about him. Because he and I shared a lot of time together. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll find some. But for right now, I'm going to leave it right here. Another toast. My voice is drying up a little bit anyway. Another toast to my hero, Joey Rudolph. Hell of a man. Thank you, Joey, for being in my life. Thank you for all the rewards you gave me. You were a great, great person to have in my life. Thank you. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Hope you have a hero like Joey in your life. We'll talk to you later.